Hello and welcome to World Business Report. I'm Juliette Foster. Now, shares in the British bank Standard Chartered have slumped this morning after accusations from the American authorities that it illegally schemed with Iran to evade sanctions for almost a decade. Well, New York financial regulators who are threatening to strip the bank of its license to operate there have accused the bank of helping Iran to launder $250 billion. Well, Standard Chartered has strongly rejected the portrayal of facts made by the regulator. Well, Chris Roebuck lectures on business leadership and is a visiting professor at Cass Business School. He's in our central London studio. Chris, a very good day too. These are very serious accusations. In fact, they appear to be more serious than those that were levelled against HSBC.
Yes, definitely. These accusations are more serious in that they are saying that over a significant period of time, Standard Chartered deliberately misled the US authorities in terms of where these payments were going and coming from. However, the other issue is that from the Standard Chartered perspective, well over two-thirds of their business is in Asia, which means that in those countries actually doing business with Iran was and is perfectly legal. So they have to go very carefully in terms of where payments go from.
Right, but let me jump in there. I mean, you've hit on a really interesting point about doing business in New York and then operating with other banks which are not necessarily subject to American regulations. It sounds like a classic case of the left hand not quite knowing what the right hand's doing.
And if you look at the reports that are coming out about the emails that were sent from the CEO in the US back to London, it was quite clear that he was getting slightly concerned as the regulations related to Iran were tightening up, that perhaps the bank was overstepping the mark. And this is one of the core problems with global banks. A global bank is global, but they have to operate over many different legal jurisdictions which take completely different attitudes to Iran.
Right, so what are you getting at here? Are you saying that there has to be some sort of standardised regulation here, that if Iran is designated to be a rogue state, then like it or not, we've all got to fall in line with that, however expensive it may be?
Well, that's going to complicate it even more, because to be blunt, that's handing it over from the bankers to the politicians. And as we saw with what do you do about the financial crisis, it's quite difficult to get the politicians to agree. Because if we wanted to have, for example, an agreement on banking bonuses globally, we could have had it by now if the politicians had agreed, but they didn't.
But Chris, time is running very tight. Sure. Either which way you look at this, however long the argument wrangles on for, this has damaged Standard's reputation and, of course, the real risk, losing that licence in New York. That is a very lucrative licence to give away.
I completely agree, and what they need to do is they need to get to the bottom of this quickly, because there is a significant difference of opinion. Standard Chartered said these payments were totally legal under US regulations, and the US regulators were saying, actually, if we'd have known where they were coming from, they wouldn't have been, and you disguised them.
OK, Chris Roebuck, we'll leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us. The story we'll be returning to in the course of the day. And in fact, if you want more information on that story, you can visit our website. It's going to have all the latest developments, also a question and answer section, which is explaining those accusations in more depth. If you want to access that, go to bbc.com/business. That's bbc.com/business.